About 10 years ago, I was talking to my friend Zach about this game called Homefront, and he really liked the game, and it had a multiplayer, and he told me that he went back to Call of Duty because it's Homefront. You know, like no one cares if you're doing anything relevant on Homefront. And that's kind of what Halo is right now, and it's really sad to say that. So I was actually in the process of making a video on 343 and how they could actually save Halo by doing a bunch of different things like overhire developers to create new content and features at scale, like updating the UI and adding a pregame lobby and a classic playlist without any advanced movement like sprint and clamber. And while I was in the process of getting B-roll and footage required to make the video, I came to a conclusion that Halo Infinite actually can't be saved. And I was wrong. At least not while presently constructed. Let me explain why I say that. I have played about 25 hours of Halo Infinite, which for me has felt like an eternity, because I hate the game. And I have yet to see a single feature in the game that gives me a single ounce of hope that the game will get better over time. After listening to feedback and adding some content to the game, I still don't think that the game is going to be relevant or good. The reason I'm being a doomer is not because the game is not fun to me, and judging by the population, not fun for most gamers. It's because the game lacks the direction and capabilities to give us the Halo experience that we have been craving for the past 10 or so years. And this is directly because 343 Industries has a team full of people that don't actually care about the things that have made Halo successful in the first place and why everyone liked it. They even bragged about, when they were initially taking over the IP from Xbox, they hired people who hated Halo to bring it to a whole new audience. The problem is, the whole new audience doesn't care about Halo. They are just playing a game because it's popular and it's cool and it's new. If you make games dedicated towards new players and just forget about the old ones, then you lose your identity entirely and you're not satisfying either player, which means the game will actually die. Now, I realize I don't speak for everyone, but think of all the things we loved about Halo growing up, right? It was the social aspect of it. It felt like the game was alive. The game had a heartbeat. Like every time you logged in, there was something fun and exciting to do. Something that was going to happen. Whether you initially logged in to play some big team battle, then got invited to do a full custom games lobby, or a challenge to a 1v1 on Guardian, or trying to meet people to do the Vidmaster light switch challenges. There was so much organic, fun content to do because the game enabled the community to be creative with the tools it provided and to run wild with it at that. They were constantly providing content for us to play, like rotating playlists like Fiesta, Infection, Driftball, Sprockets. The challenges of getting, 5,000 XP and rank 50 was enough to keep us playing for years, but to also allow us to earn armor through achievements and being able to play custom games when we're bored of matchmaking just felt like the game was never stale. Halo always felt like home. There were some mixed reactions about Reach, but Reach had one of the greatest armor customization models in FPS history, and it even had better custom games in my opinion, and a more meaningful campaign than Halo 2 and 3, even though they were both great as well in their own rights. The reason I'm getting stuck on the past is because what I was just describing to you was not a game, it was Halo. It was Halo's identity, the reason to buy an Xbox. When you bought Halo, you were buying an experience that you can share with your friends, or go lone wolf for years to come if you wanted to. 343's Halo has not been remotely close to capturing that feeling, and this is it's partially because we're older now and no longer as immersed in the video games we were once playing because our attention span isn't as long as it used to be, but it's also because 343 and Xbox are no longer making the game with fun in mind. They are making it to steal money from our wallets and inflate their population. I understand that Xbox has to make their money back somehow, but there are so many more ways to do that than the same old mundane microtransactions and battle passes. I was actually watching a video on this channel called Player 2. You guys should check him out. I think he's really cool. And Player 2 is talking about putting ads in the game, instead of loading screens. I'd much rather prefer that. Ads on the loading screens, or even in-game ads, like if you're like passing by a building in a game and it has, a HP or an Apple logo on it. I think that's a really cool way to advertise. There's also ways that you can like actually grind towards you can grind towards these armors or these unlockables without actually having to pay for it. That way you have a sense of achievement, or like you might have to pay for it at the end, but at least you can grind towards it, you know, not exactly like a battle pass in that right. And I think that's a really cool way to look at it and monetize your game rather than what we're doing right now for every single game. I'm getting off track. But people were not playing Infinite as much because there was not that same sense of achievement by getting armor sets, because, you know, there's probably a dozen or so different armor sets that you can just take out your credit card and honestly just get for way less time, you know, and it kind of takes out the whole point of, you know, grinding for these armor sets. And even if you had these armor sets that were all completely unlockable through actually earning them in game, there's no pre-game lobby for you to even flex it. You know, it kind of just defeats the purpose in the first place. Another thing about Halo Infinite is they seem to be actively trying to avoid in their words, one weapon meta, which is basically saying that the battle rifle was the dominant weapon in other Halo games. And that's partially true. But I would argue that the plasma pistol, the mauler, the brute shot, the DMR, swords, rocket, sniper, laser were all massive parts of the game. But while trying to avoid a one weapon meta, they are intentionally or unintentionally watering down the entire sandbox. Every gun that I pick up in Halo Infinite feels like its only use is in extremely niche situations that you may or may not get while you have that weapon. Also, the weapon drops and spawns are all basically completely random, so you never know when you should even try going for that weapon or not in the first place. You don't even know if it's going to be there. The sandbox feels awful to use. The only time I ever have fun when playing Infinite is when I have a BR in my hand, which right now I'm pretty sure you can only get when you're playing ranked. The other guns just feel so off. You know, the rockets seem way too powerful to use anywhere near you because it'll kill you. Like, the explosions are massive. Like, it does so much damage to you. You know, and I know that's probably how they designed it, but it just doesn't feel good, you know? The sniper feels very stiff for some reason as well. I don't know, the gunplay just feels bad. The campaign is a problem in itself. When I play 343's campaign, it feels like I'm playing in an adaptation of Master Chief. You know, it feels like the Master Chief is an actor that is playing the Chief and is doing his best to say what he thinks the Chief would say in the situation he's in. I don't want to sound like one of those astrology girls with, you know, the crystals and the mommy issues, but the aura of the game just feels off. Part of this is because the wonder that we used to get delving into the Halo universe has been soiled for us by the amount of unimpactful characters that 343 has been putting into the game. Halo 2 is my second favorite Halo campaign because it was full of moments with weight, you know, like moments that tugged at your heart. Like when the shipmaster said that armor suits you, but it cannot hide that mark. The Arbiter says nothing ever will. That is a moment of impact because you see the Arbiter is a man of reverence and honor. Another moment with the Arbiter in Halo 3 when Chief puts a gun to his head and the Arbiter says, "Were it so easy? Shipmaster, we're outnumbered 3-1, so it's an even fight. Tartarus, the prophets betrayed us." Moments like these were badass, quotable, and defined the characters and solidified them into the roles they were playing during the war. 343's campaign has never had a character I believe organically fit a role that impacted the story in a major way. Stories are made up of a collection of characters going up against a series of struggles and challenges in order to achieve a goal. What role did Roland play from Halo 5? What about Blue Team? The campaign has no meaning to me. I don't care about it in the slightest, and that's a big problem. Hell, even the new Call of Duty probably received some playtime because of the meme of Ghost. The worst part of this is that the population of Halo Infinite is so tiny now that even if they made the game great, there's not a chance that it will recoup even close to the amount of players it lost due to its horrendous release state. People were ready to welcome 343 with open arms if they just made a good game that they could love. They would forgive them for all their wrongdoings if this were the case, myself included. But the reason that separates this and Bungie Halos is Bungie Halos were a cultural phenomenon and were ingrained in the culture of the people that played it. 343's Halos have been about missed opportunities and regret. Halo Infinite feels like a cold, dark, bland place to hang out. The colors are so gray and uninteresting, the lobby is insanely quiet, and in my opinion, the gameplay isn't fun enough for Halo Infinite to actually make up for that. There is nothing about Halo Infinite that gives me any excitement at all when booting up the game. And the fact that anyone even cares about the Halo franchise after over 10 years since the last good one is because the nostalgia it had on us in the past. And until a Halo game gets to the level of quality and level of fun that Bungie's were, it will never be worthy of the time and hours that we spend playing the game. And it'll never be a game where kids can look back and talk about the good old days like they do now with Fortnite. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.